What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video, and welcome to your stimulus package update and daily news report for Tuesday, January 11th. So tomorrow is a very big day. The CPI reading comes out tomorrow. That will come out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will be here to cover that. I will address that first thing in the morning. So if you want to know where inflation is at, the worry that we could see moving forward, what lawmakers are most likely going to do if we see additional inflation. If we see additional inflation, just understand that people like Senator Joe Manchin are not going to want to pass a bigger Build Back Better bill. It's just not going to happen. But we will see the reports that do come out tomorrow, and I will address a little bit more on that in just a minute. We do know the big news yesterday was the U.S. reported 1.35 million COVID cases yesterday alone. This actually shattered all records, and experts currently believe that this might not even be the peak of the surge. We might still be a week away from the peak, which means we could easily top 1.5 million cases in a single day. Reports are also indicating that more than 5 million Americans are staying home from work due to the fact that they're either testing positive for COVID or they're experiencing some form of the symptoms. Now, lawmakers have been pushing for the past week to try to get some answers as to how they can actually make this transition easier for the American people. And here's what I mean about making the transition easier. The problem that many people have is we're going from, if you test positive for COVID, you got to be locked down and isolated for 10 to 14 days. That's very difficult for some people. The other issue is we went from a 10 to 14 day isolation period to a 5-day isolation period with a 5-day mask wearing somewhat mandate. All right. Here's the reason why lawmakers want to make this transition easier. The issue is the 5-day isolation period. This is still very troubling to businesses because if somebody gets a common cold, the first thing that they're told to do is go home, isolate, and in 5 days, test to see if you're positive. Okay, great. Because I have a cold, because I may have COVID, we don't know, right? We have to get tested, right? So this is creating a big issue. So some lawmakers are trying to get more support for things like additional stimulus checks. This is going to be hard to pass if we see inflation top 7%. And we are expecting to see 7.1% tomorrow. Okay, just keep that in mind. So, stimulus checks, benefits for those that are unemployed or still unemployed from pretty much the first year or two of the pandemic. It's a big issue. They're still trying to include affordable childcare. The child tax credit payments are still up for debate. There's more COVID relief. That's something that the White House really wants. Expansion of Medicare. Even to get, there's lawmakers right now that are pushing to get an additional raise to Social Security beneficiaries. Now, that's not something that's even really talked about because that's really not the sexy part of the bill. That's not what is going to bring in, according to reports, the most voters. And so again, and I told you guys this yesterday, and this is going to be the theme of the next videos for probably the next 7 months, is going to be, these are political games that are being played. If you've been following me here on this channel for over a year, you'll remember that when I was doing videos talking about the Trump administration, what they were trying to do, Steve Mnuchin, what he was trying to do, his negotiating power with Nancy Pelosi, the issue was they were just playing games. It was going back and forth. Nancy Pelosi was playing these games. She was the one playing these games. Well, things haven't changed. There's still games being played by both parties to try to get the other party to look bad so that that party can then try to either regain the control in the House and the Senate or remain in control. So either way. But again, these are discussions that we're going to have. What we do know is that the COVID situation right now is just part of the problem. We have massive amounts of inflation as well at the same time. And again, expectations are we're going to be at 7.1% inflation tomorrow when the CPI report comes out. So just understand, things might not get better for a little while. We do know that the White House, though, is looking into stimulus plans to help out small businesses. The White House is actually worried that many small businesses will close down for good if more relief isn't provided in the next month or so. So right now, too many businesses are actually having to shut down for 5 days while their workers go through the process, wait for either a negative COVID test or wait for their symptoms to go away. But these 5 days can easily turn into 10, 20, even 30 days if a business only has a handful of employees that can even work. Or let's say the business deals with customers, but the problem is the business is owned, operated, and pretty much run by the owner. Well, guess what happens? The owner tests positive. The owner has to pretty much isolate for 5 days. Well, what if their symptoms don't go away for 5 days? I know a lot of people that they've tested positive for COVID. They have symptoms, and yet their symptoms persist for 10 days, 2 weeks, a month. That's the other issue, is sometimes 5 days is not the only, those are not the only days that you're actually, down. You have to isolate for a little bit more than 5 days. So we'll see what happens, but it's interesting times right now. So just know that Democrats are talking, they are doing what they can at this time to try to pass something that, according to them, is going to help out the American people and also help out small business owners. So we'll see what happens there, but what I can tell you is they are still talking. We also have reports this morning that Democrats plan to vote on the Filibuster Rules change on Martin Luther King Day, which is actually this coming Monday. So at the same time, Democrats are actually trying to get all 50 Senate Democrats on board, but the problem is, at this time, they don't have the votes. They do not have the votes, but this is, according to reports, the reason why Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is waiting to announce this. This was reported earlier this morning that they are just waiting to announce when this vote is going to happen because, as of right now, they don't have the votes. But get this, on the flip side of this, Republicans are going to push back. Republicans are saying, and this is actually coming from Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who's the number one Republican, okay? He says that Republicans plan on making pretty much doing a floor takeover if Democrats do weaken the filibuster. These reports indicate that Republicans will force Democrats to vote on things like the Keystone XL pipeline, abortion rules, the U.S.-Mexico border, and so much more. What they're saying is right now, this move by Republicans could be enough to stop Democrats from trying to change the filibuster. We know that some of the bills that Republicans would bring to a vote would actually hurt many Democrats because of the, right now, and over the longest time, Democrats and Republicans could hide behind the filibuster. Seriously, hide behind it. Because it needs 60 votes in order to end debate. Okay? But making a change will likely cause them to show their support or opposition for bills. Now, this is going to put many lawmakers in a very tough situation because they will have to vote. These will be tough votes. Let's say somebody is, privately against the abortion rights, right? Or let's say they're against the closing of the Keystone pipeline, but they're against the closing of it, but yet they supported it. Okay, so here's the thing: if Republicans can change this and can cause Democrats to come out and vote on these tough bills, what's going to happen is it could hurt the upcoming midterm elections for either Republicans or Democrats. Right now, Republicans are the ones being kind of dragged through the mud, with, you stopped us from passing this bill or that bill. The problem is, if Republicans bring more bills to the floor, the issue is they can say, well, Democrats, you were saying all along that you wanted to do this and that. We brought a bill to the floor and you voted against it. So again, even though Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer wants to bring this, voting rights bill pretty much to, or change the filibuster, which would help the voting rights bill as well, even though he wants to change it, some say it might not be the best move especially right now. So we'll see what happens, but again, we are in very interesting times. Let's get to some COVID news for today, because the US has actually issued a do not travel advisory to Canada. The US just, which is weird, but the US just reported 1.35 million COVID cases yesterday alone. And now we are issuing a do not travel advisory to Canada. We are issuing that? Not coming from Canada, it is us? Canada is now listed as a level 4 destination due to very high COVID cases. I don't know what we're doing, but I would assume everybody would not want a US traveler going into their country, not the other way around. But who knows? Maybe that's just me. We also know that the Washington Post is stating that the CDC may recommend better masks to help fight COVID and Omicron in general. The reports indicate that the CDC will likely recommend the N95 or KN95 mask. They say, if people can tolerate wearing a KN95 or an N95 mask all day, you should. And the reason they are saying this is because these masks are usually a little bit harder to breathe in. They're also a little bit warmer, and so many people don't like these. So that is what we know at this time, but as always, as I know more, I promise I'll come back on, share all the latest news and updates. Again, I just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.